Kyle here from All Media Reviews, here to do another Kevin Gilbert Thud tracks, the extra. This one is a track titled Until I Get Her Back. Like Waking the Sun, this track was, I'd never heard, and I don't know if it was ever released until it came out on Nuts in 2009. Now, there's Until I Get You Back, which is a completely, I don't know if it's as dramatic or more dramatic, you could say, with the, Shrug Because of You and Because of You from, Because of Me and You, and Because of You from Giraffe. But I'm not going to do the comparison at this point, because those songs, while they have the similar title and some of the subject matter, they seem like more different entities. So Until I Get Her Back, the Nuts version is 5 minutes and 22 seconds, and then there's a version on the 20th anniversary, which is known as the studio version. It's kind of weird, because I assume both of them are studio versions. It's 5 minutes and 30 seconds on here. And there are differences. I mean, I wrote a lot of notes down, but just talking about Until I Get Her Back, I have to say that this is the third track on Nuts, and when this came out, it was a massive deal to me back in 2009. That was one of like the three, like I had this, I don't know if this is spoiling when I get to 2009, but this was my album. These were my albums of the year, just because I just figured, this is Kevin Gilbert. This is all music I've never heard before. I'm going to be listening to it, which I have to some extent. And that's why it ended up being my album of the year that year. Until I Get Her Back, Finally Over You, and Untitled Man. Although the Untitled Man, of course, is the abridged version, the shorter version. Although that song also could have potentially been on Thud. Also, that version, that I know that I've seen that, but it wasn't included in here. So I'm not doing. I'll just, not a spoiler. I've talked about Untitled Man before. Maybe I'll do another video at some point, because it is my favorite. That's sweet, but Until I Get Her Back was like a massive track, and I love that song. I listened and I was like, oh my god. And it's very catchy. The little catchy refrain, kind of repeated vocals. He repeats it probably 30 times. Until I get her back. It does kind of remind me of Giraffe, though. In that sense, the version that's on, I believe it's one of the Call Me Kai's, Until I Get You Back, is similar. But, sonically, it definitely is a much different, his vocals sound much deeper. But it does have a power pop element. It's in league with songs like Donna Ray and Goodbye L.A. and Finally Over You, or just, it's what he's doing, a very catchy poppy, element, a chorus that just is just genius, and I love it. It does sound a little bit like the keys sound a little bit like Season's End era Marillion. I keep on, when I hear the keys at the beginning, I think it could be coming off of Season's End. Maybe like King of Sunset Town, or the title track, or but he was, again, some of the lyrics, somewhere right now, that's the thing, I'll get into the lyrics in just a minute. Somewhere right now, she's waiting for the phone to ring, have me come and save her. The other thing that stands out about this, it's on both of them actually, the cadence in the verse outside of Until I Get Her Back, where he's singing fast, reminds me of Toy Matinee's There Was a Little Boy. Every time I've heard that, I've always thought, God, that sounds like There Was a Little Boy. That fast part that goes like, how can I stand, we are of the sickness of disease, or something like that. Where he's I don't know, he's singing it, it's very fast, maybe in like 7. But some of these lyrics, like, I bet right now she is wondering who I'm sleeping with, stands out. It's like a troubled relationship. I'm not gonna be the first to call. There's just lots of vocal layers on this song. Lines like, I will build her up, make her better, she's gonna call real soon, it sounds like a delusional, kind of sounds like a delusional guy, it could be anyone, someone who's delusional, not wanting to face the reality of the condition of the relationship he's in with whoever he is. And then in the bridge, the vocals I really think stand out, where he goes, whatever it was I said, I don't want to know. Oh, I'm betting on a picture of the great, of the perfect. I think he says, I'm betting on a picture of the perfect girl, or where did she go? I'm not gonna. Then he goes, I'm not gonna play that game. Don't want to be forgiven. I will not give in until I get her back. Until I get her back. Will not give in. Forget myself. Forget my. And he goes, forget myself. Forget my anger. Forget everything. And then this really good guitar solo comes in. Definitely comes across as someone who is stubborn about the condition of their relationship with, probably this woman. Is it completely autobiographical? I don't know. It could be. I mean, Kevin had several relationships. Not all have been documented. I only know of a few of them. He was obviously with Sheryl Crow, and he was with Cynthia Wilson toward the end of his life, but that wouldn't have been... Probably neither of them were written about this. But he was with the woman who, of course, Jenny Ledge, the one about a woman who left him for an Elvis impersonator. Could have been referring to that, because it does talk about Jenny. So this is almost in some way could be considered the Ballad of Jenny Ledge's sequel, Until I Get Her Back. Yeah, I mean, that might not be the case, but if it was, it wouldn't surprise me. He dated, who was in the Last Playing Out video, Rosanna Arquette, who wrote the song Rosanna about too. He did date her. I don't know if it would have been about her, but if I had to guess, it might have been about whoever Jenny Ledge is about. All right, so moving on to the version that's on the studio version on the anniversary, the 2015 anniversary, which is just 3 seconds longer. There's some slight differences. The keys sound slightly different. It seems to be mixed a little higher. He's holding out notes a little bit longer. He yells "hey" at the beginning after the keyboard intro, but the keyboard does sound pretty similar to the version that sounds like that Marillion kind of thing. And I noticed how the guitar part is more in the background at the beginning. I'm not sure if that's identical. But I mean, the lyrics are basically the same. I'm still kind of getting that whole thing. Somewhere right now, she's waiting for the phone to ring. And then the part where he's kind of singing out that fast part that sounds like There Was a Little Boy from Toy Matinee. Lyrics like, I will build her up, make her better. I will worship her. I bet she is wanting me to hold her. I love her more than she was. Keep our bed warm. Then at 3:35, 3 minutes 35 seconds, there's this, I'm call it like a gothic sounding keyboard part that starts with the bridge, and it's different. And he sings it in like a falsetto at parts. She said would go. I think she said I would go. I thought I would stay. I thought she would stay. She tried to make. I didn't get all this. She tried to make up, but I pushed her away. But now I haven't a care in the world except I can't live without her, which is kind of contradictory. Then repeating Until I Get Her Back again, and the guitar solo, which seems to be not quite mixed as high either, but it still stands out. Yeah, but neither, like the guitar solo with the vocals, it's like he's like singing over it, like doing that repeat Until I Get Her Back over it. So I don't know, it's almost like the 20th anniversary version. While the length is, and there's a lot of similarities, it almost sounds like a second or third version of a demo, and then the finished version ended up finally on Nuts. But I mean, this song, I've always loved it, although I'll say that lyrically it definitely comes across as sort of the guy who's just like, woe is me, our relationship, like, I'm going to get her back, I need to get her back, and he won't let her go. Either that or something he's just in denial of and is delusional of things that have happened with her, and they're not together, and she's going to call, she's waiting for me to call, or she's going to call, but I'm not going to call. That kind of stubborn, sort of a fight in a relationship, or a kind of fight or a conflict or a tug of war, which, most relationships, not all of them necessarily, but a lot of relationships go through. I can't deny I've been through some of that stuff myself, unfortunately. But for Kevin, I don't know how autobiographical it is, but I know the Jenny Ledge thing has a fair amount of autobiographical element to it. And just thinking about it now and thinking about some of the elements of this song, it could be, I guess, in some ways considered the sequel to the Ballad of Jenny Ledge in some ways. It might not be, but it's definitely very sort of the relationship of the. I'm gonna say it's the guy who one party is definitely bitter and not gonna like swallow pride and is telling himself that, or telling themselves that, Yeah, I'm going to get her back. She will come back, and it's going to be on my terms, and I'm going to win. I'm going to win this battle when... There's no guarantee about that. You know, you go through that stuff with relationship. It's like, you know, she needs you. It's like that line in Caddyshack, you know, the Danny and... I forget the woman, the girlfriend he has who's got that accent. It's a fake accent, but Lou, the guy who Brian Doyle comes up to him and he goes, you know, they're fighting. It's like, you know, I'm pregnant. It's like, you know, she needs you. I kind of think that a lot of relationships end up having those sort of conflicts, but they don't end. But it's not always the case. But I mean, I want to believe in this whole story that would be the way it ended up. But given his history, I would be surprised if it did, unfortunately. But it's a brilliant song musically, melodically, and from a sympathy standpoint to an extent. There's many other songs on Thud, and you can even say on Shaming of the True and Torment, that have that kind of element where it's like the guy who's lost his woman or is regretting things in the relationship, and you know, you want to feel sympathy for him, but at the same time, you want to at least hope he kind of learns from that experience, and I hope Kevin did. But anyway, so that's my take on Until I Get Her Back. What am I thinking? Of course, it's called Until I Get Her Back. But what's your take on this song? But you know, unfortunately, it's not on streaming services right now, so you have to wait until the point that Kevin's estate does. But I think it's somewhat of a banger, and the pop fan that likes Kevin Gilbert could easily enjoy it as much as I do. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.